All right, seeing that it's 6:30, could we all rise and pledge allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. We have a new board member, Doug Bumpus, is it?
Doug Bumpus. Yep.
Bumpus,
Yeah,
yep, Bumpus. Congratulations. And I would like to thank Vicki Russell for her years of service on the board and coming back and helping out when she thought she was all done. But I guess we never really know when we're really done or not. So I just want to say thank you to her. Moving on, agenda adjustments. We would like to move the executive session 10.2 to right after, before consideration of the minutes. So that would be our next item. And we will definitely finish the meeting after that. And another agenda adjustment, we are moving, or we are adding, so I have to have a vote to add 7:10, and Megan Murphy is going to talk to us about a trip to Quebec. And she needs approval because she wants to start raising money. So, so we're going to move that in front of 7:9. So I guess I need a motion to add that to the agenda.
Make a motion, we add 7.10 with Megan Murphy, presenting the trip to Quebec.
All right, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right.
Don't we have to have a motion to
Right.
make either move to,
Yeah,
to move the,
right, to move it. I just wanted to do the one we had to add first.
oh, okay, all right.
Now we have to have a vote to move 10.2 up to, it would actually be 1.4. So,
So moved.
second, is there a second? Second, any discussion?
Yeah, why?
Yeah,
why
why are we gonna kick everybody out just to bring them back in if we can do it after?
Paying by the hour. Attorney fees.
Our lawyer, we usually move up. He's got some stuff to discuss with the board, so we usually move him up, so that way there he doesn't have to sit here through the whole meeting.
Well, perhaps next time we have them show up late.
Can I make a suggestion to do public comment before then? Since there's people to do public comment?
I don't think we're really going to be that long in the meeting, and I think it's important that we hear what he has to say before public comment.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
We're gonna.
All right, we're going to
Christie, are
have
you
to,
abstaining?
No, I voted.
Oh,
in
okay, we
favor.
didn't see. In favor?
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't see. It.
okay, so we're going to have
Okay,
to,
hands up again, because we
We're
have
gonna
to
have
do.
to have-
Diane Lawrence got his.
Okay, we've got
I'm
it.
good, I'm just doing later.
weighted vote? All right, was there, did you vote?
I did not vote.
So you're abstaining?
For this, we're voting for the lawyer to just be
Yeah.
pushed up.
Yes,
ahead,
just to move the agenda,
move them up.
yep, just to move them up.
All right. And then we'll do that before the public comment.
Yeah, we'll do it before communications and minutes.
Then I guess I vote for it.
Okay, so probably it passes, I mean, I know it passes, right?
Yeah, it passed.
Passes 442 to 325.
All right, so I need a motion to move into executive session, to enter into the executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 405, 6E, consultation between the school board and its attorney.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
As well known.
Opposed? All right, okay, we will be back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Well, you'll hear the announcement.
Oh, you got it. Remember, we don't know. We don't know.
Right.
Okay, so we're done this, and I haven't read the minutes.
We're not. We're just waiting. You know. Yeah, nobody knows.
Recording in progress.
There we go. All right, I want to thank everybody for coming back. 2, consideration of minutes. 2.1, to approve the minutes of the June 7th, 2023 Board of Directors meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed?
I'm abstaining because I didn't read them.
Oh, okay.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here, so I don't know if they're right or wrong.
All right, 2 abstentions then. 3, public comment, and I want to remind you, if you would like to come up to the mic, please, or if you're talking on Zoom, give us your name, the town that you're from, or your affiliation. And this isn't a back and forth between the board and the speaker, so we'll hear what you have to say, and that's it. Anybody, any public comment? Anybody on Zoom? No? All right, moving on. Petitions and communications.
So the only communication right now is you have in your packet about the Maine School Board Association Annual Delegate Assembly. So I want you to know about it, and if you're interested in being a delegate, just let Jill and I know, and then you'll be approved in our meeting in September to be a delegate. So to be a delegate, you attend the conference in October, and then they have a meeting to go over getting the feedback from the different board members on where they stand on things they propose.
So, it
So
says,
there's something for people to read.
right, okay.
Yeah.
All right,
If I may, didn't they change this format?
yeah.
They used to meet at the conference.
You're right.
And now they hold it by
On
Zoom.
Saturday.
Yeah,
By
on
Zoom
Saturday.
prior to the
Yes.
conference, I think. So
Yep.
there isn't really the same type of discussion and level that's,
Yeah.
I mean, for
You're right.
those of us who have been a delegate before,
Yeah.
it works much better this way because they're oftentimes a really good seminar to attend instead of sitting in a room as a delegate.
Yeah,
You don't have a distraction.
right.
Well, you want to go to the seminar,
Right,
but
that's
it's something
yeah.
you're interested in, you got to be at the delegate conference. So now
So you're right,
this
then there's
is
the
done
date.
independent of the conference and via Zoom.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me of that. So you'll see the date, October 21st, and it's a Saturday.
Saturday.
So you can read more about it, and if you want to be a delegate, let us know.
All right, thank you. 5, reports, 5.1, superintendent's report.
The only thing I report is all the principals are going to report out on the great end of the school year. Had a lot of fun going to different events again and visiting the schools on the last day and the positive energy. It was just a lot of fun to see the celebrations and all the positive things going in our school. So I know that I'll say that for the principals. Next week, Kathy Martin and I attend the commissioners' conference, and that's when Kathy will be receiving her award for leadership, and I'll be receiving 15 years of service. So, yeah, thank you. And so we'll be bringing lots back of what we learned at the commissioners' conference.
Any questions? No, seeing none. You want to go over the resignation?
Right, so we had resignations from Maureen McDonald, the guidance counselor at SBS, and Melanie Lassard, the nurse at Libby Tozier. And then we have a retirement, William Todd Brown, our math teacher at Oak Hill High School.
How long has Mr. Todd Brown been
Yeah, how
here? I
long-
know some
yeah.
of my kids have been at him.
20,
Yeah,
20 years.
wow, very nice.
We're all looking at Heather. Oh.
I know.
19,
Yeah.
19.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I know it wasn't an easy decision for him. I know, really, that was a tough decision, and we appreciate his service.
all right, moving on. 5.2, assistant superintendent's report, oral report.
Yep, so I just want to update everyone on two topics. First, we've started summer school. So everyone got a long weekend, and we started on Tuesday. If you didn't know, we have two sites this year. We have Carrie Ricker, where it's our rising kindergartners through rising 5, so it would really be pre-K 4. And then the middle school, high school, are at the high school. We have over 30 staff that are working at some point this summer between our June and July sessions, and then the high school only has the August session. It was done as teacher request as well as parent request, so anyone could sign up for summer school. We have about 132 students that will be servicing at Carrie Ricker, and for this first session, we have about 76 students at the high school site. So we're about 208 just in this June session. In order to do that, there's a lot of coordination that's happened between John Varney, Kathy Perry, myself on transportation, Sue Wade for food service, because Camp 44 starts next week, so we have to transport them in a different place and location this week than we do next week. And then we'll be continuing to feed our SPS friends that are doing Camp 44 there. We also got a $10,000 grant to help offset some of that summer food cost as well through Full Plates, Full Potential. So that will help our summer foods service budget. I'm sure Sam will like that. I will give some more updates in the fall regarding our other summer program and the success of that. The other piece for food service is this past year we did a grant at the middle school where students could get free fresh vegetables and fruits daily, and we wrote a grant and it's a K-8 program, so we were able to get fresh fruits daily in the K-8 schools. So all of our schools will be able to partake in that program. So it's done outside of breakfast and lunch, so it's like providing a snack for students that's either a fresh vegetable or fruit. So we'll be looking to talk about in the different schools when we'll serve that, how we'll do that. I know at the middle school it's done very quickly in between classes, and we go through all of our food that we offer. So it's a used program. So we're excited to extend that to all our schools. So any questions?
Yep, go ahead, Laura.
Just curious, two questions. Do you know what how much that grant was?
Which grant?
The second one.
So we don't know what our allocations are, so they pretty much do it by your free and reduced lunch, and then what they do is they allocate the money. So they figure out which schools can partake in it. By the end of July, we'll know what allocations they are, and it might be different allocations for each school. It'll go by our enrollment.
And does it work with local, like farms or, I was thinking kind of like maybe the apple, the people that have apple trees and things like that. Does it work locally, or do you have to get the food from like whoever you kind of get the food from, or?
No, there's not stipulations of where we get the, there are certain things that, it's more about supply. So, when we're trying to do a lot of our menus, you'll notice that sometimes it just says fruits or vegetables, because I don't know until the week before what fruit or vegetable that I'm going to get, or which fruit or vegetable that I will accept, because we get some that you're like, that's not, it's like kind of going to Hannaford and you're starting to touch your fruit, same deal. So we can get some things locally. It's just different process for us, and it's about the billing. But sometimes it's cheaper for us to get things that are already pre-cut, so we're saving on labor because it's added work for our staff. So we kind of offset, offering things that are pre-made to, pre-packaged to local.
And so just in case any of the public are maybe listening and things, if there are people out there that have some pretty big operations for growing and vegetables and fruits that are local, should they reach out to you directly?
Yep, because we would have to set up yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
thanks.
Yep.
Kathy, I have a question. I know a couple months ago you talked about our pre-K numbers and kindergarten. Are we seeing them starting to come back now after COVID, pre-K? I mean, what number?
Yep. So Dustin can probably talk about numbers, but our numbers we're full at pre-K. We're starting a wait list. So I would say 3 years ago, maybe Jan can even give me that. We did have 3 teachers. And so we went back to 2 because of our numbers. So we are full, but with 2 teachers, 4 sessions.
And what are our numbers of kindergartners coming in with no our own preschool?
Oh, I don't know, because they are just finished screening.
Yeah, we're looking about 85 to 90 for next year, so we had 64 pre-K, so
Yeah.
it's about 21 additional.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, financial report, I'll cover that underneath the reports. 5.4, administer report, 5.4A, Dustin Miles and Michaela Stevens, Libby Tozier, Carrie Ricker. You thought he was leaving, didn't you?
Well, I didn't know if I need to use the clicker. Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. So I'll be talking about Libby Tozier, and we had so many end of the year events, and I just picked a few to highlight. We had a huge celebration of learning, and it was Enchanted Under the Sea theme. As you can see, all the rooms were decorated. There was a bubble machine out in the hallway. Parents were coming in, singing songs. Their students were reading their pieces of their writing to them, and getting to showcase all the hard work that they did with the underwater sea creatures that they had. We also had the Books for Bikes, so I did want to do a quick shout out to the Maine Freemasons who donated bikes to a boy and girl of each grade level to Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker School. It was a really great event. The students were so excited. Their families came and got to see them accept the bikes. We already had one student get a little scratch on her nose from her bike, but she did a really great job, took those training rails right off. We also had our pre-K luau, where parents were able to come and see their special dance. And then they got to go into their rooms to see it all decorated luau style and enjoy a special snack. We even had Miss LaValle, who's here, have passports for each of her kids, and they did a virtual airplane ride to Hawaii where they were able to really celebrate luau style. So just some fun things from Libby Tozier.
All right, good evening. So I'm just going to touch upon Carrie Ricker, but first I want to say that between Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker, we've now done over 20 school events organized by Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker. We're able to showcase our schools to the community by opening our doors from craft nights to game evenings. We've brought together parents, students, and community members, fostering creativity and collaboration. First, I want to talk about Flag Day. The Flag Day celebration was a memorable event that honored our veterans and brought various community members together. It was heartwarming to see the pride and respect shown towards our country's flag and those who have served it. The involvement of the second grade students from SPS added a great enthusiasm to the occasion. We had a full gym. This could not have been done without the time and effort of our third grade teacher, Sierra Gilly, who took on this leadership role. Field Day was undoubtedly a highlight of the year, providing our students with a day filled with fun, games, and excitement. The various games and activities created an atmosphere of joy and camaraderie, allowing students to showcase their skills and sportsmanship. The success of this event would not have been possible without the dedication and hard work of our staff and volunteers, including our gym teacher, Jason Cohen, who spent countless hours in the morning and in the afternoon planning for this day. Finally, I'd just like to express my heartfelt gratitude to the entire staff of Libby Tozier and Carrie Ricker. Their unwavering commitment and dedication throughout the year. As a first-year principal and Ms. Stevens as a first-year assistant principal, I am immensely proud of the growth and progress we've made together as schools. In schools, we faced challenges and setbacks, but our resilience and determination prevailed. As school board member, Mr. Richards can attest to yesterday afternoon, the word family consistently emerged in our conversations, symbolizing the strong bond and sense of belonging we have cultivated within our school and community. It is through our collective efforts that we have created a nurturing and inclusive environment where everyone feels supported and valued. Questions or comments?
I have one. How do you pick a day without rain?
I was going to say that.
I mean, you
So,
do here or what?
Yeah, we have multiple email strands of the gym teacher and myself talking about it's not going to rain, it is going to rain, and what our options were. I will say that we did have a backup plan where every single teacher in the school volunteered their room to come into, but we just snuck by about 3:30. It started to downpour, so we got very lucky.
And my second comment, if I may, is thank you for the Flag Day celebration and for keeping on going what Diane had started many years. I typically attend those myself. This year I had a doctor's appointment. Last year my grandson was being adopted. I had to be at the adoption ceremony. I plan to be there next year unless something comes up. But it's always a great time. That was followed up in the evening at the American Legion Sabatis with a flag burning ceremony to teach Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and anybody else the proper way to dispose of the flag. So I was at that. But it's great to see it. It was always a great time when I went. Gym packed. It was wonderful.
Anything else? All right, thank you. 5.4B, Amy St. Pierre and Jenny Hudner.
I'm going to go first with just Sabatis primary first,
All
if
right.
that's okay. I'm going to crash the party. Okay. So with SPS, we had lots of transition events. We invited our kindergarten friends to join first grade for 2 events. The first one was a meet and greet with our first grade teachers. So we split the classes into 2 groups, and our first grade teachers were presenting an All About Me bag. So they were able to kind of showcase some of the things that they like to do and make connections to the students, so we could already start to build those relationships. It was amazing, like who had favorite colors and favorite adventures during the summer. So even afterwards, you could hear the kids like, I know my teacher's going to have this, or one of the students is already planning to bring their seashells in the fall. So then they also were able to play on the playground to kind of get used to it. SPS has a lot more playground and grass than Libby Tozier. They looked a little shell shocked at the very beginning, and then when we just said, just run, we had about 70-something kids running around like crazy. So it was fun, for sure. The second event, we invited our kindergarten parents for a barbecue with their students, so they were able to kind of go through the line, get through and meet all of the teachers, and again, get to play on the playground and do a quick tour. Second grade got 3 events that were getting them transitioned to Carrie Ricker. One was going to Flag Day, as you saw. So in the past, they used to participate in Flag Day, but this was an opportunity for them just to see an assembly being done at Carrie Ricker. We also had a barbecue that was well attended, and then we also did like a meet and greet kind of tour event where they got to kind of tour it, play on the playground, and meet all of the teachers and get to see, some of the intricacies. They're always amazed by the second floor, and also not sharing spaces, that they have their own music space. Mr. Johnson has pretty awesome music space as well as their own art room, so that was pretty amazing. In May, we also shared our ambassador program where we had some students who took some extra trips that went to specific programs. We also did some other fun adventures just in June. Our parents were able to come in Miss Meehan's class and do some volcano experiments. So they were working on their science unit and were able to showcase their experiment. Ironically, the Mentos and Coke did not go as well as it was anticipated. So who knew that yeast and peroxide would have been the winner, but it was. And also you can see down is Mrs. Passant's, they're camping out. So if you notice in the past year, we've been doing a lot of animals and camping theme. So they finished with a little campfire, and each kid made their own tent and got to do their learning for the remainder of the year. And obviously we tried many times to do field day. We were not as successful doing it all outside, but Kyle Stanley did a fabulous job of checking and adjusting. It was hard to get all the field trips, all the field days, and all of those opportunities to play on playgrounds in other schools with the amount of rain we had. But we had a fabulous field day. We had 2 wildlife park field trips, one for first grade, one for second grade. Our community meeting events, we opened their doors to our parents, and throughout the year we have increased the parent participation. So we're excited to kind of see how we can increase that next year. And then we also had, all of the screens over it, we had an end of year parade. If anyone knows, it is a long line, probably to Main Street Market every year, and it's an opportunity for the kids to say goodbye to the staff, and we give different goodies that students can use throughout the summer. So that's always well-loved and well-attended. That is it for SPS.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy St. Pierre, principal at Oakville Middle School, and with me I have
Jen Hudner, assistant principal.
So this year has been packed with many great accomplishments and moments and experiences that have made a difference in our students' lives at Oak Hill Middle School. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to the incredible staff at Oak Hill Middle School for their outstanding work this year. Their dedication, passion, and tireless efforts have truly made a difference in the lives of our students. From the teachers who go above and beyond to inspire and educate to support the support staff, custodial staff, kitchen staff, and bus drivers who keep everything running smoothly, their hard work and commitment have not gone unnoticed. They've all done an amazing job, and we want them to know how much their efforts are appreciated. Well done, team. So May was a really busy month filled with performances, celebrations, and hands-on learning. Our 4th grade step-up day was a huge success. We even managed to squeeze in a barbecue lunch outside in the few short hours it did not rain that week. This was a day filled with excitement as students transitioned from class to class, meeting their new 5th grade teachers. Our spring band and chorus concert showcased the musical talents of our students, and for the second time this year, the community came out to honor our talented middle school musicians. We were excited to have new center meteorologist Ted McInerney visit our school and engage our students with his expertise in meteorology. This opportunity allowed students to gain a deeper understanding of weather patterns and the science behind it. 7th grade STEM students were studying human body systems, and through hands-on activities and lessons, they explored the intricacies of our anatomy. As the unit came to a close, the students participated in a dissection project, exploring the inner workings of the systems that they had learned about. With gloves and scalpels in hand, they carefully dissected worm specimens, identifying the different organs and tissues. And you can see there, Jenny put a little worm. She was very excited about that. Oak Hill Middle School was busy with end-of-the-year activities. The recipients of the 2022-2023 Student of the Month students were recognized for their hard work and achievements with an end-of-the-year field trip to Funtown. And moving on to our 8th graders, their end-of-the-year dance was a night to remember. It was great to see students all dressed up to celebrate. Students and 8th grade teachers danced the night away, and we all had a blast taking silly photos with props. The following week, the 8th grade class embarked on a field trip to Funzie Trampoline Park and ended their middle school journey with a celebration ceremony recognizing their academic achievements and their personal growth this year. In closing, these events and experiences are proof of the commitment of our educators, the support of the community, and the incredible abilities of our students. Jenny and I are truly thankful for your continued support, and we look forward to another successful year ahead. Thank you. Questions? We didn't have rain either.
No, but
That's good.
Never mind. I'll
Okay. Thank you.
Five point four C, Marco Alberti and Susan Rennie.
Thought you were moving on, Robbie, to something
No,
else.
I wouldn't let you off that easy,
Yeah, I
Marco.
appreciate that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for a moment of your time to share the most recent happenings at Oak Hill High School. Let's see. We'll go ahead here. There we go. Yeah, we celebrated the senior class. I don't know if you guys are aware of that, with the senior class assembly and senior class night and graduation. Featured in this slide is the senior class night, which is highlighted by a presentation of scholarships, department awards, and senior athletic awards. The evening is always well attended, and it is serving, or the event is serving as an appetizer to the main course, which is graduation. Some nice photos there. Then on Saturday, June 3rd, we held the class of 2023 graduation at the Augusta Civic Center. 80 of our 83, or 96% of our students graduated as of today, with 2 more finishing up within the next week, which is wonderful. It was a festive atmosphere spurred by wonderful music and choral performances. Student speakers, which Robbie spoke about, I think at our last meeting, which was pretty powerful. Additional scholarships were awarded, and obviously the presentation of diplomas. It's always a fantastic event, and I'm genuinely grateful to be a part of the process of working with students from freshman year to graduation. And as everybody else has said, I'm very thankful for the staff and community members who've contributed to the success of our students through their 4 years at Oak Hill. The remaining student body focused on finishing the school year strong and celebrating their achievements in our annual underclassmen assembly. The assembly once again honored the hard work of our students in academics and co-curricular activities. And finally, even though the school year is over, we started summer school on Tuesday, and Sue and I are hard at work with our summer checklist. Speaking for myself, I'm looking forward to summer as it's a different pace at the high school and allows for a fair amount of reflection and preparation for next year. So we really look forward to that time together. Any questions?
I just have a comment. The seniors walk through the schools.
They did, yes.
Yeah, I heard about that because mine is 6'1" in 7th grade, and he was like, I could be like high schooler. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I remember when they did it when they were little too, like little.
So he looked the part, is what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. That's awesome.
Do kids pick the school that they want to walk through?
No, they go through all of them. They tour the entirety.
Because I know the kids at Carrie Ricker, some said there were not many kids that went through.
They probably weren't paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, the bus takes them from place to place to place. Yeah. Right. Not everybody does it. Not every student does it. Yeah, exactly.
I'll let him know there's more.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm taller than all of them.
Yeah. No, there are more. That's correct. Yep. So that's probably it, Diane.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Director's reports, next meeting, right, Katie? All right. Our student rep report, she does not have a report, but I know she's finished the school year. So, are you coming back next year? All right, great. 5.6, no other reports. 6, old business. Motion. I move that the resolution entitled Resolution to Authorize $204,379 School Revolving Renovation Fund Financing be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that the secretary file an attested copy of said resolution with the minutes of this meeting. The attachment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. 7, new business. To approve that the computation and declaration of vote dated and attached here to be, and it is hereby approved, and further that the computation and declaration of vote be entered upon the records of Regional School Unit 4, the Regional School Unit, and further that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks with Regional School Unit.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right. 7.2. Now, I heard this a week and a half ago and could not believe it. Very happy about it, but to re-elect Lawrence McCarthy as the industrial arts teacher at Oak Hill High School for the 2023-2024 school year.
So moved.
Second.
I'm not going to talk about any discussion. All right? All those in favor?
So what happened?
He
Just because we're new.
He
We're new.
unretired, now
Yeah.
he's back. We hired him back.
Oh.
The industrial arts
Yeah,
teacher.
you accepted his retirement now.
Yeah.
he's-
Okay. See, retirement's not that good.
Yeah.
It isn't.
You coming back too?
Is that
You want to come back as, home ec? We don't have home ec anymore. You could show us how to cook.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
All right.
7.3, to approve the first reading of the following policies. I'll read them all. Oh, no, I'll take them one at a time. EBCA, Comprehensive Health and Safety Emergency Management Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right. KDA, Public Information Program.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one.
Bob?
So I thought when the RSU formed, we took all of Oak Hill's policies. This is obviously an Old Wales policy,
Really?
which I didn't think was carried forward. So I thought when we had to do policies initially, we took the Oak Hill ones, and then we started chipping away at those to make modifications as needed. So I was surprised to see that we're using as the current one, the Wales version, and not the Oak Hill
This,
version.
this is the first time I've seen it. And so maybe
This
it
is the
was.
one that was online, so when we
Right.
were, when I was looking through that section.
Okay, is this a required policy?
Because
Because if it's not a required one, high school might not have had it, Wales may have had.
So I was, when I was in the KDA section on the other one, my
Yeah.
visit, so I kind of skimmed, I said, oh dear, this one's Wales.
Old.
This one we should bring forward.
All right. Yeah, so, yeah, as long as it's a required one, we should have it.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. All those in favor? Keep up, Wales is going. KI, visitors to school.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just make note that you're going to see coming up the removal of KGB, which is not required, and MSMA did not have a sample for that one. So we took a lot of what was in that one that was still very relevant and folded it into the visitors at school. That's what you see, is a lot of the additions came from KGB. Just for clarification on that.
Could you clarify, is central office considered a school building in this policy?
That's a good question. So we could add one central office in there. No.
I mean, the reason for my question is I would almost prefer it not be part of that.
Well, I think it probably was when we had alternative ed here, which we don't anymore, right?
I mean, we don't follow that exactly. I mean, we do, people come in, we check them in, and there's, obviously, these rules would apply, doesn't necessarily have to be in a policy. You know what I
It
mean?
also says like school grounds.
Right, school ground.
And it
Right.
doesn't list the schools anymore.
Yeah.
Right, and if you look at the last paragraph that's aired, lined out, deleted, it actually there in that paragraph spelled out the different buildings, and central office was not included at that time.
So, as written, this policy will not include central office.
Well, I would say this is considered school ground. It's not a school, but it is school ground.
Okay.
And when you read through it, a lot of it we would do.
Why would you not want the central office included? Just because maybe the policy needs to be tweaked a little bit if it's a change or something.
Right. Mostly for transparency purposes with visitors.
You want to put schools including central office?
I
Are you
mean,
recommending that?
again, I would prefer central office not be included in this particular policy, but
It would be considered school ground. I mean, you own this.
It's owned by the RSU.
But it's not a school.
so it is included in this. We're gonna say that this includes central office in this policy.
I mean, I'm not sure exactly what ones we would want to include for central office as well as the schools, with the exceptions of Well,
I mean, some don't apply in that, you wouldn't,
Well, for instance, F, building administrator has the authority to refuse entry to school grounds or buildings to persons who do not have legitimate school-related business, limited to news media. That's kind of, that's why I was thinking, so if, I mean, and that may be, having legitimate business could be subjective, and you're talking about trespassing public, so.
I think it can be, our procedures here look a little different, like, you know how it says in the first paragraph, depending on the location?
Sure.
Yeah, so
would agree
you're
with that,
right.
because there's not necessarily always ever students or staff here that.
Well, there are.
Yeah.
Sure, there are sometimes, but.
Right.
So you're right, people come here to do business.
Correct.
Right.
And, yeah, and then we would address it.
It's not common that classes are being held here. That's what it's
but yeah, operation of the school is not
This is more of an
necessarily just-
operational facility,
yeah,
so.
yeah. I would
is it
agree with you.
subject to a different set of policies, I
Mm-hmm.
guess?
So I guess my question would be, do we want to table it and the policy committee can rehash it?
I would say this is visitors to schools, that's what its title is. Knowing that the central office, obviously, some of this stuff would pertain here, and some would not,
Right.
because of its facility.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I'm just
open,
curious
it's more
if we-
open to the public than
Right,
school
so
facility.
should we somehow lay that out in clear
State
detail?
that last paragraph, you think, with the labeling the schools out?
Well, yeah, because some of this is specific to schools
Right, some is,
and not to the central office, so.
So we could have something in paragraph X, or F, excuse me, F, that addresses this particular section.
I mean, even if you wanted to blanket it and include it, as long as it's clear.
So I guess what do we want to do?
Personnel committee have a recommendation?
I think when we looked at this, we were looking at school buildings,
Yeah.
not central office. So perhaps we list the schools. And then, is there a policy? I don't feel like it's a policy, it would be
It's more
procedure for
procedure.
central
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
That would be created here and not, I think the reason why we're looking at this policy for the schools is that the schools have students and there's a different layer of what happens there. So
so, I mean, if we said citizens in public schools and then list,
list the schools.
Yeah, or in
or
paragraph
public
2.
schools not including.
So in
central
paragraph 2, it says the following general guidelines shall be incorporated into all building level administrative procedures. So it could be incorporated in, and then name
Yes,
the 5 schools?
yes.
The only hesitation is if we change schools, and then change the policy, we just have to remember.
If we change school names? We got
Or if we say the school board encourages active interest in following parents of students in public schools, excluding.
No,
except you
I'm
wanna
saying paragraph, in the second paragraph, the following general guidelines
Corporate at
shall be
all.
incorporated in Oak Hill High School, Oak Hill Middle School, Carrie Rickers, Libby Tozier, Sabatis
Yeah. We
Primary.
just have to remember to change it if that changes.
Or can you just say
Well-
student-serving buildings?
Yeah, buildings where classes are being held. I don't know.
I don't know.
Serving to what level though, because technically
Right.
this building
Yeah.
services.
Yeah, so maybe we just name them.
All right, we'll list them.
Okay.
Well, you have the term visitor. You could also put another thing that says the term school shall,
Yeah, shall refer to.
because A says the term visitor shall
Okay,
apply
yeah.
to any person. Why don't you just, the term school shall,
Apply to Oak Hill High School, Oak Hill Middle
Okay.
School, Carrie Ricker School, Libby Tozier, and Sabatis Primary Schools.
yeah.
Yeah, because you still want it on school grounds, because we still need to protect this property.
Yes,
So we'll make a
Right.
B.
Right.
Okay.
But,
So if we
yeah,
add a B
you
in
could
there.
list them there in that paragraph as well. It might even
Yeah.
read better. Diane.
Okay.
Is this policy supposed to be replacing KGB?
KGB, no, it's not a replacement.
Okay.
KGB, that's next, is to remove KGB.
Are we removing KGB because we've revised
Yes.
Yes.
this one?
KI, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I read KGB, and there was some pieces of KGB that I felt should be kept. For instance, the use of school grounds after school hours, which I didn't see in this new revision to this policy.
Yeah, we wrote,
We rolled it into.
we put in the KG at the bottom, community use of school facilities as a cross-reference. Because we have a whole policy on the use of facilities after hours. The facility use policy, we listed underneath
So
as a cross-reference.
KG and KGB, there was a lot of repetitive language. So we pulled pieces of KGB into this one, and then the other portions of KGB that are not listed in this one are listed in the KG, which is cross-referenced, which we looked at earlier this school year.
I don't see anywhere in here where it specifically states that school grounds could be used after school hours.
It's
So we have a different policy.
It's in KG.
Yeah.
It's in policy, KG stipulates that, so that's a different policy. It's referenced on this. So if somebody had a question about after-hours use, we would refer to KG.
Okay. Thank you.
So do we have to send it back because we're making revisions? We can't accept the first reading.
You can accept the first reading, you
With
just
revisions.
We're
incorporate
going to
the
make the
changes that
revisions.
was
I'll
kind of
send it to
agreed
you
upon.
all before it goes to
I'm probably
second.
gonna be on my own on this one too, but, section C, the 24-hour advance notice to avoid conflicts, which I get the reason behind it. My issue is leaving 24 hours notice, does that give time to change the next day's topic of discussion or to remove materials? I mean, is that just for transparency purposes? I feel like, I don't know, almost would like to see no advance notice personally, but I'm sure that I'm alone on that one.
I'm
So
going to
for the
push
record,
back
yes.
and say, if somebody showed up at your work and expected to observe you, would you feel comfortable with that? If you had a whole plan?
I guess it would depend on who and why.
I just think it's a little unrealistic not to have notice for our teachers.
Kind of cuts down on parents in the moment. Sometimes they get heated and they want to show up at the school that moment and talk to the teacher at that moment. Kind of gives them a 24-hour cool down time. Having been a former teacher, I've dealt with some of that too.
I agree, but the policy specifically states that you're not actually allowed to discuss individual matters. So,
That was from, so see what was crossed out? That was the only part, that was the only wording in the policy. So when we reviewed that, 24 hours was in the current policy.
Yeah, I
so,
noticed it was in the old one
so
as
we-
well.
Yeah, so we brought it forward.
Anything else? So do we capture the changes we
Yeah.
needed?
I'm going to send it to the committee and have them look to make sure we have it for second reading correctly.
Okay. So we'll bring it for second reading next meeting.
So do we need to vote?
Yeah. All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right. 7.4, to approve the removal of the following policy from RSU4 policies, KGB, public conduct on school property.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions?
I'd like to read the other policy first.
All right. 7.5, to elect Michaela Stevens as the principal at Savannah Primary School for the 2023-2024 school year as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
I'm
Opposed?
just-
Yeah, you gonna abstain?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is she here?
She is.
I had to ask. I know she was, but yeah.
Thank you all for voting for me, I appreciate that.
All right, thanks. I don't have to ask Bob's question now.
Okay.
We already know.
Congratulations.
She's already here.
That's what I mean. I didn't have to ask.
That's great.
To elect Michaela
Kayla.
Morris as grade 8 ELA teacher at Oak Hill Middle School for the 2023-2024 school year as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Oh, yeah. Oh, one abstention.
Are you here?
All right,
She
I
is
will
here.
ask the question. She's here.
Yeah, she is.
All right, now this is a long-standing question that the board asked.
Well,
And I
first,
know
how do we say
if your
that?
friends didn't tell you about it, they left you out in the cold. Why would you want to come to RSU4?
Well, I looked on the website in Amy St. Pierre's welcome letter. It said that it takes a village to help educate children, and to me, that screamed community and taking care of people and being a cohesive place, and that's just where I want to be.
Thank you. Very nice.
And how do we say your last name so we say it right?
Yes.
Murray.
Gotcha.
Murray.
Murray. I like it.
All right, moving on, 7.7, to elect Sean Whalen as the grade 7 math teacher at Oak Hill Middle School for the 2023-2024 school year as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? And is Sean here? Yes, he is. All right, I got to ask the question. Why RSU4?
So I'm moving into the Lake Augusta area, so I was looking at jobs in the area. I always wanted to be a middle school math teacher, so this really worked out perfect to be 7th grade. I thought the interview committee was really inviting, and overall, I just really got a good sense of the community here.
Great, thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yep. 7.8, to approve authorizing the superintendent of schools to sign the memorandum of understanding, MOU, between RSU4, GRO, Grove Community Garden Project, Sabattis Recreation Department, and the town of Sabattis.
So I will,
Motion?
discussion, yeah. I'm sorry.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion.
So I was made aware that the selectmen, Sabattis selectmen did not authorize the MOU with the town of Sabattis, so we would remove that
Yeah.
from there. So I've, as you know, been working a lot with Kelly about this, and she's worked really hard with Sabattis Rec Department, which is taking it under their umbrella. So people would be signing up to be part of the GROW program through Sabattis Rec. And so we're leasing that plot of land, which is right in front of Sabattis Primary to the right near the fencing, for $1 a year. And she has to hold insurance, and she knows all that. So we have a plan in place. The town of Sabattis really was encouraged to be part of the MOU because of the support of doing some work, which they're still going to do whether they're part of the MOU or not. And so we're looking forward to this venture with her and see how it goes. So,
I was at the Sabattis Selectmen's meeting last night when this project came up. And the discussion was that the RSU owns the property. Sabattis does not own the water rights to it, so they really weren't tied to it property-wise or anything like that. So they figured it would just clean it up if they weren't involved with it. That was the understanding I got from the select board.
Are they still supportive?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Are
they
they
support the
supportive of
project.
termination 1B?
so we have to revise, I didn't
Yeah.
know this until,
Okay.
Yeah.
so it's going to need to be revised to remove the town of Sabattis.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a bunch of questions.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, this says this is a legal agreement, so this is a lease. A few
Correct.
concerns I have is, on the very bottom of the first page, it says, community partner support representatives will provide guidance and approval for decisions, and it lists community partners as the 4-H University of Maine Cooperative Extension, St. Mary's Nutrition Center. what approval would those partner organizations be giving?
So what I think there be a committee kind of overseeing it as part of how, what do the plots look like? Where are we going to put the plots? It's all about that section of land, helping to inform. Those are experts in that area, so it's helping with sustaining. It's not really anything more than what's going on for the garden, the community garden.
Right. I guess I don't understand what they would be approving. And there's no other, it doesn't list anybody else as part of the approval process.
Right, because they will be overseeing that plot of land for the community growth.
Okay.
So it's an advisory board.
Yeah.
Right.
And it says there'd be meetings and work sessions. Are these open to the public?
Yeah. She does advertise them
Yeah.
and post them.
Because it doesn't, she didn't list public access on that.
Okay. Would you like clarification on that?
Yes.
Okay. Show me what, lead me to
It's right on
where,
the bottom where it says,
the resources?
the representatives from school districts may join the GROW team and attend specific meetings and work sessions related to the community garden project as capacity and interest allows.
Okay. Yeah.
So it just says the school district may join GROW team, so it's just the two parties.
Right, so include public.
Well, they are. They are.
Town residents. and
Town
school
residents
district
and school
members.
district community members, not
Yeah.
the school board, but a school board or a school
Well, it says a representative from the school district.
May join. yeah.
may join.
May.
Right,
But it
the
already-
sentence
But it's
before.
I don't know, maybe it's just verbiage, but it's a
Yeah.
representative from school district. Sounds like a singular person from the school district.
Oh, I see I know what you're saying.
So you'd
Like,
rather say
and parents, like you're
representatives.
saying parents and stuff, like this is limiting.
Well, just as a community stakeholder and taxpayer, may want to
Yeah.
find out what's entailed with this garden project, that's all.
So if we made the suggestion, instead of it saying a representative, it could say representatives from the school district may join.
Yeah,
I think
just-
that the
Yeah.
verbiage around, so she lists Extension, St. Mary's, and then she says, and the town residents and school district community. So that's
Yeah.
where I think she's talking about parents.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Um,
representative was like Kathy, me.
Right.
Jim Palmer's been involved. It was more administrative.
But she didn't, I think the way that she wrote
Specified.
it, if there's time, like, I think she's trying to show the balance of if the district wants to be involved, they can, but they don't
That's-
have to be.
That's exactly it, yeah.
The other thing I had was, in case there's a lease dispute, it says that the town of Sabatis would,
Find new land.
essentially, yeah, we would have to relocate the project within 180 days from the date of the request of termination, but at whose expense? I mean, relocating that entire thing might cost something.
So add language there. Right.
Then what would happen if we decided to close that building and give it back to the town or sell it or whatever? I mean, are we still gonna be obligated to, under this
No.
agreement, continue that garden project for 180 days? Because I didn't see where there would be an exemption for that. It's just flat out, we need to continue to allow them use of the property for 180 days.
It's for 1 year. It expires June 30th, 2023. Yeah.
So
Even
if
we
we
wanted
were,
to
if
close
we
the
were to
school, we
close
couldn't.
that building during the time period that it would take that to happen, which would probably be greater than a year,
We're guessing.
well, it's gotta go to. a
Gotta
couple
go to
of
It's
referendum.
likely, but I just.
And then once you give it up, the town has the first option on just taking the property.
Mhm.
If they don't want it, then it can be put on the market. So if the town takes it over, then it's the town. If we sell it, we're not gonna sell it before we can give 100 days notice. So if we were to close that building, I would assume we would terminate the lease at that time, so that we'd have plenty of time for the lease to expire before all the different referendums have to be done and the votes, because there's no way we can close that building by September 1st. The time the law just wouldn't allow that to happen. It's a long process, so 180 days is more than sufficient if the board wanted to close that building, to give termination notice before we actually could close the building.
Scott, you make good points, though, that now that the town of Sabattis won't be involved, that's
Yeah.
got to all be retooled.
Yeah.
And
So we probably should bring it back to you.
Yeah, there's this other section,
Well-
this MOU will
Mhm.
automatically renew an additional term of 5 years, but if there's not gonna be an MOU anymore,
Right.
who's gonna be doing the reevaluation? And
Yeah.
to piggyback on that, I personally would like to see an annual evaluation rather than a term of 5 years.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
And also, the termination date is June 30th, 2023, which is in 9 days.
I mean,
I think we meant to put 2024.
Maybe a reevaluation every other year. 5 years
Yeah.
is kind of a long time to go without an evaluation.
I don't think every year.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah, I don't
An
think it's-
annual renewal.
Yeah, I don't think that.
At least for the first 5 years.
Right, a
and then if she
hardship.
shows sustainability.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who knows what's going to happen with
Right.
this project.
Okay.
It does limit them on their ability to make financial commitments to go and do
Yeah.
improvements and build the beds and stuff if they don't know if next year they're gonna be in
Right.
operation. But, we want it to be operated correctly, right? Even though we're leasing out the land, it's still ours.
And it's also, it's a thesis, it's a graduate program. So,
Yeah.
like, of course, right now, there's a lot of, not that I'm questioning her motive at all, but I think the yearly piece gives an out if
Right.
it needs to be, or if there's not enough interest from families.
Well, that's why we said next year, that should have been 2024. When she was talking, she's spending this summer, like she has a fundraiser plan this summer with the rec, so that by next year, we would see, are you ready to go?
Okay.
Yes, I have all this done, I have this many families, and we'd say, okay, then there's a commitment. It doesn't have to be 5 years, maybe there's 2 years, and then we reflect.
Didn't it start this year?
No.
She
No.
kind of, she did a
She's doing her
little,
needs assessment.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had the grand opening of it on June
No.
3rd
No.
or something.
So should we table this so it can be completely revamped?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was just saying,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. Table it.
All
This
right.
was really good feedback, and she and I, especially, I haven't heard from her since what happened at Sabat,
Yeah,
the
last night.
town.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we do have a motion on the floor, so I guess
They can withdraw the motion.
withdraw
we can
my
withdraw
second.
the motion and the second, or we can just not vote for it, so.
We don't want it in.
Yeah,
probably
that's
turn it
right.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah, motion to
Yeah.
table.
Motion to table over voting motion, yes.
yeah, okay,
So I make a motion to table
all right,
agenda item 7.8.
all right. Thank you. Do we need, we need to vote on the table, right? So table it?
I just need a second.
Yep, all right, all those in favor of tabling? Thank you. All right, moving up 7:10, over 7:09. Megan Murphy, trip to Quebec.
Yeah. I apologize not having it in there, Megan. We had it all. No. But, yeah, so Megan has an exciting trip planned, and so she wants to tell you all about it and ask for approval. So, Megan?
Sure. So I'm Megan Murphy. I'm the French teacher over at the high school. I was just going to tell you a little bit about the trip. You should have included a letter that I've written, like a letter of intent for the trip. I'm not sure if the budget and the itinerary is there as well, but I'll share a little bit about that, and then I'm going to show you some pictures of the proposed accommodation, and then I have two of my wonderful students who will likely be joining me on the trip, and they'd like to share some thoughts with you as well, and I'd love to hear your questions.
No, they did, no, because
Oh.
it wasn't in the agenda. So
I wrote a beautiful letter. I won't,
You did
I
write
won't
a
read it. I won't read
beautiful
it to you in entirety. I'm welcome to share it if you'd like. Absolutely, I will. It is my intention to take a small group of students, 5 girls and 4 boys, to Quebec City for 3 days in April of this next coming up school year. The purpose of the trip would be, it would be a French club trip, but the purpose would be giving my juniors and seniors an opportunity to have some cultural enrichment, speak some French, and just learn about a really cool place that we get to enjoy being so close to Quebec. The letter highlights lots of opportunities I've had personally going to Quebec. I have lots of experience organizing trips. I did so as the president of Franco-American Club through the University of Maine. I brought 50 students from UMaine up there and organized that trip. I also attended a similar trip as a student twice when I was in high school, at Mount Ararat High School, and I chaperoned a trip with them as well when I was in college. I've put together a tentative itinerary. Some exciting news about the itinerary. I would like to use an Airbnb for accommodation, which I understand is unconventional and exciting. The Airbnb would give me an opportunity, I think, to have more control and supervision over the students, to keep them safe, and also it's just a lot more fun, a lot more resources there too, being able to cook together, things like that. I'll show you images of that in just a minute. In terms of transportation, we'll be renting a 12-passenger van. The chaperones of the trip would be myself and Jamie Bushi, who's a science teacher over at the high school and has lots of experience with such trips. For the cost of the trip, I received a donation of $800 from my summer employer to go towards the trip. And then after I wrote the letter, we actually received another donation from Armin Couillard over at the high school. So we've raised $1,000 for the trip already, which is great considering it hasn't even been approved yet, so we're ahead. So right now, tentatively, the cost would be around $350 per student. That would include accommodation, transportation, breakfasts, money towards lunch, museum tickets, all of the gas, and a fancy dinner at a special restaurant as well. The trip would feature activities like we'd be touring around the old city of Quebec City, which is really beautiful. The tour would be given by me, so fingers crossed for that. I'm also really invested in bringing kids to a movie entirely in French. I don't know how much they'll enjoy it, but I will enjoy watching them enjoy it. We will be visiting the Basilica of St. Anne, which is a pilgrimage site in Quebec, just outside of Quebec City. The Montmorency waterfalls as well. The Ile d'Orléans, which is a beautiful island near to Quebec City. And just lots of time for strolling and sightseeing in the city as well. So I'm going to show you pictures of the tentative accommodation, and then I'll let the girls here share some of their thoughts. Let's see if my AirPlay wants to work.
And we're printing.
When are the dates?
It would be the first week of April, that Tuesday to Friday, which I believe is the 2nd to the 7th.
Not vacation.
It would not be a vacation, nope. The AirPlay did not come up. RSU4 CO. Tech office. Yay! So this is what the Airbnb looks like. It's in an awesome spot. It's right near the old city. I'm very, very, very familiar with this area. I've been to Quebec City personally, I'd say 30 or 40 times. I usually go 3 or 4 times a year. So it's in a very safe location, and we wouldn't have to drive anywhere. We could just walk around, which would be wonderful. So this is it. It's really beautiful. Some technicalities with it. You can see in this downstairs area there are bunk beds here. I would put the boys on this floor, and they'd have their own floor, and then the girls would be upstairs, and they would have their own rooms. The girls would share the rooms, and like I said, the boys would be on the bottom and such. This would allow also for Mr. Bushi and I to have our own separate space at a respectful distance, but also close enough to keep an eye on things. The kids would be really excited about the foosball and the pool table, give us opportunity to hang out inside and not have them out trying to find fun elsewhere. And there are 4 bathrooms in this Airbnb. So the girls and boys would have their own bathrooms, the adults would have their own bathrooms, and that is super awesome. And the best part of the Airbnb is the price. It is $374 a night, which is wicked cheap for housing 11 people, which we love. Granted, it's freezing in Quebec. So it's the 2nd to the 5th here. It's freezing in Quebec, so bring in our winter jackets. And yeah, there's lots of information about it here. So that's what I have to share. I'll let the girls share their thoughts, and I'd love to hear your questions.
So I'm personally very excited to hopefully take this trip. I've been taking French since my freshman year, so it'd be really amazing to have this cultural experience of being not only around French culture, but around the French language. We don't really hear a lot of French spoken here other than in our French class, so it'd be great to see actual people speaking conversational French, and to be able to experience Quebec, which is a very French city. And Mr. Bouchy, who's chaperoning, brought us to nationals. He's very fun, and a lot of the like classmates that are possibly coming on this trip really respect Miss Murphy and Mr. Bouch, and I feel like it'd be a really fun educational trip, as both of them love to nerd out about how much they love French and how much they speak it. And yeah, I just feel like it'd be a really great experience, especially with a lot of us being juniors and seniors. We went through COVID years, we didn't get to travel, and Canada's right there, so why not take the opportunity?
We've known Miss Murphy for a year now, and I know that we have a lot of respect for her because she's a really great teacher. Going on a trip with her, I know that we will have so much to learn, especially from her and Mr. Bouchy. He also knows a lot of random information. This trip will be a great opportunity for us, especially with our COVID year, as Destiny mentioned. We just don't really get out much. We were home for a couple of years, and I feel like I also don't really get out much. And this will be a really great opportunity for everybody to not only learn so much from them, but also from being in Quebec.
They're much sweeter than I am, so I thought that they'd be great to advocate for the trip. So, I don't know if anyone has any questions. She gave you the letter?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Do you have any fundraisers in mind?
I was thinking, given the fact that we are in such a Franco-American area, I can see some Franco-American names on the tables here. I thought that we'd have the kids take matters into their own hands, just simply like writing letters to local businesses, seeing if they'd want to donate. I'm really encouraged by the cost now anyway. I was actually considering taking this trip with Mount Ararat High School because they do a trip as well, and I was thinking about tagging along. Their trip costs about $1,000 per student. There's a few reasons for that. Theirs is staying in hotels. They have a big coach bus, things like that. And I was excited about the opportunity, but I felt the price was not accessible for my students. And so the price being $350 tentatively is already good, but of course we'll be putting our foot forward going forward, writing letters, and my wonderful French club has lots of great ideas too. So,
Does this include all the students in the French club? Or
that actually is, yeah, all of the students in the French club. I only started French club second semester. This was my first year at the high school, and I wasn't going to do this trip. I was going to be like, I'll get my foot in the door, I'll establish myself, and then I was like, no, we should have some fun. French club hasn't met too much. I'm sure more kids will want to join. Lots of interest already. I think I know the crew who's interested in going, and that would be the whole French club.
And then for the van rental, do we have a van?
Yeah, so there's, it was my understanding, I don't remember by who, that we were not supposed to take our vans out of the state or country. So I will be talking to John Varney about that, just in case that's not true, or if there's something we could do, because that would obviously cut down even further on the cost. Yeah,
That's what
right.
we gotta check.
Yeah.
You may be able to just put a temporary
A rider on it for that trip.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Mhm.
We're gonna check it out.
And then just for a fundraiser thing, it always kind of surprises me. I don't know, maybe there's a reason, but like when we do these big events at these schools and like it's music night or whatever, that people just don't donation for parking or something. But just a thought.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I haven't been on the board long, but I've noticed every time Destiny is on that side of a microphone, there's a trip involved.
That is.
But that being said, I appreciate the fact that as the faculty is really pushing for the kids to get out and do things that you wouldn't normally get a chance to do, and she seems to be taking advantage of that.
I do like to be well-traveled.
I think that's
Culture myself.
That's a very good thing.
Yeah, it's exciting to hopefully give the kids this opportunity. This was like my favorite thing that I did when I was in high school. I became aggressively interested in French after my first trip to Quebec, and it changed the whole course of my life. So I'm not going to set that precedent for this trip. That would be wonderful, but it's definitely worthwhile to give them that experience.
Yeah, so I guess my concern, Major, is the rental of the van, I'm sure whatever van you would rent would probably be more comfortable and better equipped for the trip than ones that we have. You know, would probably have some Wi-Fi and stuff that they can listen to. Don't think so? Okay.
No.
Sing songs, French songs.
But so one of you are going to drive the van?
I would likely delegate that to my colleague Jamie Bushy, who loves to drive. But I would be happy to do. I've made that trip many times. That's actually why the trip is in April specifically, because before that it's just a little bit too snowy. And the snowy season, not that it does not ever snow in April, but it's passed by. And then in terms of the comfort of the van, my understanding is that it would be like the same, kind of the same van.
Okay.
I called a few different van companies because what is that famous one? Enterprise, you can't take their vans out of the country. So Budget Rent-A-Car can. So.
Yeah, there's a place in Lisbon, Stewart.
Mhm.
Yeah,
They
very.
usually rent all the vans for the colleges and schools
Mhm.
and everywhere. And to find out about it as soon as you can, because they rent hundreds of vans
Mhm.
all summer long.
So
Yeah.
this wouldn't be on our insurance then? I mean, normally we have a trip within the states.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It goes under our policy,
Yeah,
right?
it would. You're
It would.
approving it tonight, like you do.
Okay.
And then the field trip will be specified, the risk of the trip. Parents will be signing that risk. We'll be checking in on insurance and so forth, just make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And as you probably know, I spent a lot of time in northern Maine.
Mhm.
After you get so far, all you get is French stations anyway.
Exactly.
So you'll have plenty of French radio.
Yay.
All right.
Thanks.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? None? All right, thank you very much. Have fun. All right, back to 7.9. Budget discussion to include giving direction to the superintendent in addressing the failed referendum vote. So I guess I would like to start by saying that I think we have to get, as a board, we have to give the direction to the administration to see where we can find places to cut. And coming up with that number, total number, is the responsibility of the board. So we can take recommendations from the administration, which I think is great, but the final decision, what we present to the taxpayers again, is going to be the decision of the board. So I guess Katie has some dates picked out, right?
Yeah, so just so everybody understands, with the failed referendum, the vote of the public meeting, that's the budget that we move forward with. Obviously, we have to be fiscally responsible in that, knowing that the minute we have an approved budget through referendum, that will replace it, okay? So that's one thing I wanted you to know. The other thing, I saw the dates I put is next Wednesday to do a budget workshop, and then looking at July 12th as a regular meeting with a possible budget vote if we're ready. If we're not ready, I put July 19th as the budget vote. So yes, I can see people's faces. Then July 27th, so we have to, from when you vote on a budget to go to the public meeting, there has to be a 7-day posting of that. That's why you see the 27th as the public budget meeting, so that it puts that if we do vote on the 19th, we have 7 days that it's posted so that we can have the public budget meeting. And then the referendum date set for August 15th. So it seems fast because it needs to be fast in that sense. The other thing, I encourage, giving direction to the administration to work on this, because things will be in limbo around decisions. So we're hoping with direction from tonight that we will come next Wednesday to present to you our recommendations to meet your direction. That makes sense. So the quicker people understand what might be on that list as recommendations from the administration, the better, because people worry and so that's the lineup for us to get to another referendum. So we've been working, but we need direction on what are we looking for a reduction.
Bob?
Yeah, so I guess the question is what number are we looking for? So we provided a budget with an X dollar amount. So how much lower, because we're assuming it failed because taxpayers believe it was too high, not that it was too low, right? Right? So what is the new number? I mean, so we have to remember that the Budget Committee in Litchfield recommended 485,000 less.
Yes.
70,000 was taken out in special ed, so when they modified it later, it was 415. But the number together, if you're going with the new budget back, that we have to decide whether that 70,000 goes back into, in our proposal, back into special ed and the money's cut elsewhere. But, you know, how many dollars are we willing to go and cut to present the budget? Because that's the key, and until you have that, it's kind of difficult, because you go down the budget, you're really nickel and diming unless you're talking staff, and we don't want it to reduce the staff, right? So everything else is a little here and a little there, and it takes a lot of little things to come up with 500,000, roughly. Maybe that's the number. Maybe people will feel emboldened, and at the budget meeting, they'll want more than that. We don't know what will happen.
Anything else?
So,
None?
so we're looking for a number, right?
Yeah.
So, I would throw out, having heard the discussion at the budget meeting, seeing that not even all the board members voted for all the budget articles, that the 485 is probably the least, so maybe, I don't know, somewhere around 500 reduction. Now, where that'll come from, they might come back and tell us that the things that we need to do to reach that might not be acceptable by us, but, I mean, that's a number I'm just throwing out. You all have the ability to throw out a number too, and please do.
I think it seemed when they were talking at that meeting at the high school, it was more about the taxes not going up. So I don't think the number, it was, the bottom line is Litchfield especially was very vocal, a lot of Litchfield residents, about taxes not being increased, and that's why they threw out the 400 per recommendation of the selectmen, because that would have capped their taxes so it didn't rise as much or something along that line.
It wouldn't rise as much, but it wasn't about a neutral tax increase, because it hit a neutral tax increase would be 2-3 million.
Yeah.
They were trying to minimize the tax increase, I guess. They
Right.
were happy with the level of tax increase.
I think what I heard Tom Wood say is that if they took that number, it would get them down to a 5% increase.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Give us
Give you a number? I gave you a number in March, and I don't want to spend all summer. I like you guys, but here, you pass the mic.
Laura, your number?
We'll start at the end and work down.
I mean, I gotta be honest, I'm not necessarily sure it's money driven. I mean, it is to an extent, right? Maine's got the third largest tax burden in the country, next to New York and California. Inflation's at all-time high. Everybody's feeling the pinch somehow. So yeah, but I think that most people feel like education, if taxes go to anything good, it's gonna be education. So I don't think people have a problem necessarily having an increase in tax for that. But I don't think that people feel like they're getting what they're paying for. I mean, RSU4 is in the bottom 50% of schools in Maine for reading and math proficiency. I just feel like we gotta give them something better for their money. And yes, like we probably need to reduce it as a sense of good faith, like we're trying to do something. But I think there's a bigger scope here than just a tax increase.
Because it was less than half that passed it, right? The percentage.
It was way less than half.
So it was 225 yes and 512 no.
Mm-hmm. So far, we got one number. Is that the number we're working with?
You know, I have lots of questions. I think particularly as a resident of Litchfield, the numbers for students is looked at as only Litchfield. So when people are calculating the cost per student, they're looking at their town, and they've forgotten that we're an RSU. So I'm paying, my tax dollars don't just go to kids from Litchfield, they go to kids from Sabattis and Wales. And I think we need to do a better job of helping people to understand that it's not a cost per pupil per town, you know what I mean?
That's
Like,
part of their problem.
that
though.
is that is
That's
where
part
they're
of their
stuck, they're
problem is
stuck
they feel
on
like
that.
They're subsidizing our
Yes.
kids' education.
But we're all subsidizing kids. That's what you do for the greater good. Like, that's why we invest in public education.
I'm not sure emphasizing that's gonna help your cause.
I understand that. I know.
I think to like piggyback on that cost per pupil, like when you look at our entire budget to how many kids, what is our cost per pupil? 17 something.
You have to look at how the state calculates it.
Yes.
So can we start with maybe
And
that as
extrapolate
well?
special
'Cause-
ed, because that's a whole different, like, that's a whole different formula.
Right. So remember,
They're comparing Lisbon and Winthrop,
Right.
who are in the top 25% in academics, and their cost to educate is less. So I just,
And then we kind of had talked about too, like in the special ed, if any of those out of district placements should maybe go back to their district to get their education too. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know we ever came up with if any of them.
no, the students that attend out-of-district placement are our students.
No, from the superintendent agreements from.
Oh,
like, if they're-
superintendent agreements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they're in, if they're in our special education program, does it make sense for maybe some of those superintendent agreements to go back to their districts to get, to help with cost on that?
You can't discriminate on superintendent agreement. You can't say, I'm going to accept only general ed students and we're not accepting special ed students. You'll have to just, no.
Only private schools can do that.
Right.
Right.
So,
And you're assuming we have a lot of special ed students under
no,
superintendent.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm
No,
asking a question.
or
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
out there is assuming that that's true.
so you can't say no to an out-of-town student?
You can stay out of town, but you can't say, here's, that's a lens, you're special ed, I automatically deny.
Oh, sure.
That's what I thought I heard. So I have been, and I'm not popular right now with some community members because I am denying superintendent agreements. I'm really trying to weigh out, is this reasonable to allow the superintendent's agreement? So we have some folks that are going to be with us, and they have a right to appeal to the commissioner regarding the denial. So we are working hard to really think about what is the ask, is it educational reason, and what are the circumstances around it, and then, especially students that are in the younger grades, because once they go into superintendent's agreement, it's hard to get them back in. So doing a lot of discussion with families about that. So we're working on that.
And then
With the cost of doing business and everything going up, I mean, it's clear, we don't have a choice in a lot of it. We went line by line, so.
Yeah.
I feel like we maybe meet the recommendation part way and say 250,000, see how that goes. That would be my.
And I heard from the floor, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard from people that they don't want to see teachers, ed techs in the classroom cut. So I think that is a commitment that I would like to push forward.
And I think too, like this budget includes, and we talked about this a little bit in our finance facilities committee, it includes a assistant, a payroll assistant, you know what I mean? Like, I think, like, come down to some of that administration, or maybe we look at some of the stipends, or, you know, different kind of areas like that. Maybe we do, at the beginning of the year, people bring their own supplies again, and I think there's some ways to maybe get creative. I agree with not cutting any teachers or direct classroom support either.
What about like outsourcing things like payroll? The cost difference.
We looked at that when we were down a business manager. It's very expensive. We costed it out. I mean, we can look at that again. I guess what I'm asking you is you're going to have to trust us. That what I'm hearing is 250,000 or 500,000. We haven't heard from everyone, and that we're going to work hard to start as far away from students' impact down, and that we'll bring that forward. You may say we don't agree with number 5. We would rather you did this or that, because remember. We might say outsource or accounts payable, but we've seen other districts who are having trouble getting the checks out correctly, and it doesn't do well by your staff. Right.
Big issue.
Huge. So you just have to, I think you have to trust that we're going to do everything we can to follow what your vision is around those reductions, and then we'll debate the list. So I think you're going to have to trust that we hear you, and we've already obviously started. And this is very helpful, the conversation.
Katie, what do we have in reserves that we could pull?
We don't. We would not recommend going into fund balance.
Bobby?
Well,
Yeah, so just to throw it out we don't want to reduce any of the staff that we have.
Correct.
So what is the feeling of the board for positions that are unfilled, that we didn't have filled, that we have in the budget? Would that be an opportunity, or are you, as a board, going to want to fill all of those open positions? Because that's, obviously, there's dollars there without hurting any current employee other than class size.
Which is a commitment that
Right, but
we
it's,
talked about.
these are positions that aren't filled. I believe they're not filled this year, the ones that we have open. So they haven't been filled this
No,
this
those
year.
have been already
They've
eliminated.
been eliminated.
Oh, those have been eliminated?
Mhm.
But we have, the unfilled positions we have are all positions that have been filled for the year?
Right.
Yeah, right. We have positions that are open, and what I'm hearing, if I think we could strongly get as close to 250 with not doing major reductions to staff.
I don't.
Well,
Okay? No, because 250, when you start going to 500, that's a whole nother jump.
And do we know what, you'll put together what 250 would look
Oh,
like
yeah.
impacted by?
Yeah, that's what I'm here, listening for direction. Do you want a picture of 250, a picture of 500, or do you want just a picture of 250?
I think 250 would be a good place to start.
I think we should just have both. I mean, how much of it, if you're putting the calculations in anyway, if you can do both, that'd be great.
Yeah, I agree, because otherwise we're just kicking the can down the road. Let's just see what it looks like.
For both of them? Okay?
I think another piece of this is, a lot of people didn't even know was voting in Sabatis. The numbers are really, really low. I mean, people are like, it was voting, we were voting, the sign.
We didn't do a
or-
robocall.
They did not do anything to advertise.
it was on the board.
So what kind of drives me a little bit crazy about that is it's been talked, it's the same time every year. I was like, when
Yeah.
you buy a house in Sabatis, so when you buy a house in Sabatis, you should know it's every year at the same time. One thing that every year, like 19 years, every year. And then I think one thing we had mentioned is maybe sending out that blast, like when the buses are down or whatever, that could have maybe been helpful. But I think that the district did a very good job. It was on Facebook. It's been talked about for 3 or 4 months. The town of Sabatis, anyway, posted it on Facebook. They put it on their website. They put it in a minutes or something too.
Yeah, they did.
We've mentioned it several times at meetings. So, I think personally that everyone did a really good job at getting it out. I think that, kind of sometimes easy to play the blame game as well, right? But I think maybe sending out a blast is the only other thing that I could recommend the district could have done, just to encourage people to get out and vote as well, but.
Yeah, I think low turnout, in my opinion, is oftentimes driven because people are complacent, people are satisfied with the recommendations and stuff going on, and they don't feel that they need to vote. We've seen this before, where budgets have been cut. Wales, we had a petition come up, we had to bring it back out, and that we filled the place, people that wanted it. So I think that those people that think everything is going along fine and don't have issues, they oftentimes don't vote because they just think it's going to continue going right along. It's only when something like this happens and you get the attention that, especially when we come out with what we're going to be minus with $250,000 or $500,000 less in the budget, you'll find those people that were satisfied with the way things were going to realize it's not going to keep going that way unless they get out. So then you hope that they come to the budget meeting and bump your budget back up to where you'd really like it, and then show up to polls to approve it. But none of those are guarantees. But in the past, every time we've had a budget fail, when we brought it back, the polls were tremendously high, and every time we brought one back, it passed. All right. So, unfortunately, that's kind of the way it works. I wish it wasn't that way.
Yeah, people usually don't get concerned until they find out what they're gonna lose.
And Litchfield was the one that had the highest attendance.
So Litchfield has local elections in June.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
We're the only. And there was a Facebook post saying that your school takes
Yeah.
70%
So
of your
Brandon,
budget.
any thoughts?
I agree that the 250 is a good place to start. I don't know if it'll be enough to change everyone's opinion that didn't like it, but doing something is better than doing nothing. I agree, I would not like to be here all summer. No offense to anyone here, but we have to do something because we can't just sit on our hands. But again, 500 is a big ask, I think, to start with, so if we do 250, I think that would be the better route.
I guess for me, sometimes I wonder if, kind of echoing Bob's sentiment, is that I wonder, because it seemed like there was a lot of Litchfield votes against that, and 350 plus people obviously felt strong enough to go to the polls. Part of me kind of wonders, because I do a lot of business in Litchfield. I talk to everybody I talk to, especially when I filled out getting my signatures. Everybody had an opinion about something, and I seriously took it to heart and thought about it. I kind of wonder if they know what a cut on each of these things actually entails. And I'm not knocking anybody. I think that the average person's busy working, trying to put food on the table and do all this stuff. I think that they don't realize it's already pretty slim after going through all these numbers. These are very slim. If we cut 200,000 from the facility, these same people, when they go see their child do a play, they may notice the paint peeling a little more, the roof leaking a little bit more. Part of me wants to maybe, it's a little more work, but like a tentative, like if we cut on, cost center 4, this is what you would see. If we cut cost center 5, this is what you would see.
Well, that's what you'll see at the budget meeting, and that's what they'll see.
Yeah.
The difference that we're cutting out of the cost center from the voted on amount at that budget meeting in May to where it is now.
So how do we increase the attendance to the budget meeting so we can make it crystal clear that we're educating the public properly?
We propose to cut something that would really get a score. You cut scores. Like honestly,
The first thing
you cut cost center 4 completely, and then people come out because the people that really are passionate about athletics, not to put, like, there's no people attached to this, but like that's the motivator.
Well, in my mind, I think that's doing a disservice to the public, for one thing, tricking them to come out. If they don't want to spend the time to come out, we can't twist arms, go to their house and pick them up in a bus and ask them to come to the meeting. Everybody knows. I mean, I've heard the excuse, I didn't know. I've had people in my own family tell me, well, I didn't know the budget meeting. I mean, you would literally have to live underneath a rock not to know or have no concept whatsoever about how your local government runs, not to know that there is a budget meeting and a referendum vote. And you're not going to get those people, and I know people are busy. I'm busy, you're busy, we're all busy.
I mean, in defense, I have a family of 6.
Yeah.
You know, I have 4 kids. I'm friends with a lot of other families that have larger families.
Yeah.
They're busy as heck. You know, like
I know, I had 6
I'm
kids.
Sure they know.
I had 6 kids, and I've been doing this 23 years.
Yeah, and that's amazing. In all honesty, I guess I'm very sympathetic. I'm often accused of being too sympathetic, but like, I can understand that they're just like, hey, I don't have the energy to drive all the way over to the school unless my arm's twisted. You know what I mean? It really sometimes it has to be like, I care that much that I'm willing to be really tired at work the next day, you know? And I think they do know. I just think that everybody's burnt out, you know, post-COVID.
But everybody has 6, 7, 8 hours a day to scroll through
Yeah.
Facebook, so can we do a social media
Yeah.
post?
I mean,
Maybe
I
as simple as a link
posted it.
to-
everybody has to.
Sure, sure, but like if the district posted on the district page.
We
maybe
did post.
Oh my gosh, we
a link to.
they put, well, and you also have to remember, which is scary, it could happen to us on the public budget meeting. I mean, that's the first time it was like, oh my gosh, they could cut $500,000 right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the power is heavy at the public budget meeting.
Right, and that
I mean,
that failed by.
By 5 votes?
5 votes.
I mean, I don't think people realize that is the meeting.
No, people don't realize
Right.
that
Yeah.
at all.
And if you remember, the people that wanted to do that
They organized.
they organized, but they had no offer of an idea on where we should cut it. We're just going to cut it, and then you go and find out where you're going to cut it. People that should be involved should be able to go in and say, well, I think this line item here, or this particular job center, cost center, is the one that should be cut. But just whacking it off the top without any guidance is kind of tough.
I mean, kind of echoing Scott's sentiment. At my work, we use SurveyMonkey, if anybody's used that. Could we maybe post through social media or something, a SurveyMonkey through all the households for each cost center? Rank them, or which one would you want that 200,000 cut from? Like, throw it out on the public a little bit, and then take some feedback from that. You know, because it seems like they think there's a disconnect, but I don't think there's as much as everybody thinks. You know, so I think maybe when our next meeting is a couple.
Yeah, we could talk about how to get that. I mean, it's hard for feedback if people don't really know what they're giving feedback. The number one feedback is our taxes are too high.
Yeah.
Right? So, Bob, I appreciate that they were allowing us to choose where the reductions were. I would have a really hard time if they're cutting cost centers just because you wanted them to select cost centers. That to me would be very scary.
And that is
I guess to me, I would add, like,
Right.
if you cut this cost center, this impacts, in
Oh,
like
right.
layman's terms,
Yeah,
you know, like
exactly.
this will impact the buses.
Right.
If you had trouble with the buses, this is not the cost
Exactly.
center to cut. You know?
Right.
But this is where it would be. And just to, I guess, maybe if somebody make it in a usable way that it's no longer than 10 minutes, because nobody wants to spend more than 10 minutes on a survey. But it might get people thinking and maybe understanding. And I think if we came back with the budget as it was, the thinking and understanding may be more present than just trying to cut it and
For the sake of cutting.
blind. I don't know. It's weird to cut. You know, it's like in my household, if we were told to cut, just cut $1,000 out of what you get in a month. I don't know. You know, like I'd have to think about this.
Right.
I can't just.
Yeah, you'd have to take $40 out of groceries, $60 out of gas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely.
Yeah.
It seems weird. I would want some feedback, like, oh, if we drove a little less, I guess we could cut it there. You know.
Yeah, because they cut out of special ed. They had no clue.
They had
what
no
they would-
clue.
I know, the one we get reinvested for the most.
Yeah.
And legally, we have to provide.
Right,
But
Yeah.
it's not a choice.
It's not a choice.
Well, and you know, and that's another thing I hear when I walk. You know, when I listen to people talk, they think they know, but they don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they throw these ideas out, and I get it, but without being immersed in it, and I understand, we're immersed in it, you know, all year long, from budget season all the way through, so we get it. And I love the idea that people can come up to me and say, you know what, how many people do you have at central office? I've heard you got all kinds of people up there. Well, we got one accounts payable person, one payroll person, and we get dinged every year in the audit because we don't have redundancy in our central office just for that fact. So to lose one of those two positions, and then I don't know how we could continue to do what we do week in and week out without those two positions. I mean, we saw what it was like when we lost the, business manager and the facilities manager and the superintendent and the turmoil we went through and, the upset and all that. So, there's not big places in central office that are going to save us $250,000 or $500,000. It's going to be a lot of little cuts and some big cuts to get to a number that's acceptable at the budget meeting. And if we go to the budget meeting with $250,000 and it's not enough, they're going to come back with $450,000 again. And it's their choice at the budget meeting, just like it was this time. And they only missed it by 5 votes. So if they don't think they're being respected by the amount of people that voted it down, they're going to be out in droves again. And I've seen that happen too. We came back and said, well, we're going to cut $100,000 out of the budget. Boom, that budget failed. All right, we're going to cut $200,000 out of the budget. Boom, that budget failed. It took us almost to September to pass the budget. So it's a fine line we're going to have to walk. And it all comes down to the budget meeting. So I think what you heard, Katie, is 250 and 500,000. So you can get us a pretty good idea what we're going to lose for that. Because I don't care what industry you're in, you never get more when you lose. You always lose.
And some of that money, isn't that to repair some of those 2 buildings?
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't want to close them, but you have to do those repairs. If you don't, the repairs are going to keep piling up.
Yeah, we're already behind on projects that we set aside this year.
Right.
So I think it's also just important to know that we have a lot of hardworking people in our community. So I keep on hearing like, well, they don't know. Well, people know. And so I think also, we heard earlier this year, there's a community backpack program that feeds kids in our district because they can't even afford food, yet we're gonna raise taxes at the same time to those people as well. So it's a hard spot to work within a budget. We had an increase, several increases over the years in education. Public education is important, right? So to do back-to-back increases of almost $2 million to the residents, what was last year's 1.7 or 1.5 or something, and this year's was 1. So like back to back to back, I know people in the community are pretty concerned of, is it going to keep increasing every year like this too? Like to propose actual projections and like, so this year we're gonna, like a few years ago we had the big increases in some of the pays. So like we got a project and then we're anticipating that maybe in the next few years it's not going to be such a big jump. You might get more support as well. Do you know what I mean? If it's presented in a way that it's, yes, we understand it's a big jump for these reasons, but it's not going to be such a big jump next year.
Well, what's hard is the jump this year was the valuation played a part in it. It was the ED 279 shifting.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's out of our control. Because this really was a maintenance budget. There's no new positions in there. It was we have to meet the special ed because we haven't been budgeting 100% and we have to budget 100%. So there are things, and the maintenance went up because of certain projects, costs of fuel and things like that, which we're looking at. I mean, everybody's looking at everything to see what can be reduced. But this wasn't like we came in with 10 new positions and we need this, that, this is a maintenance budget. The reason it costs more to the community is because the communities, your properties have gone up in value.
Evaluation.
That is not anything we can control. That's an issue.
That was 75% of the drive, right there.
So, yes, and if you do the basic education, your class sizes will not be 16. Your high school will not be able to offer the array of opportunities for students like Destiny, people, all of our students have great opportunities, and you want that because you want them to come back to your community and be productive citizens. So, the community can't say in one breath, we don't like the data and this and that forth, and think less is going to have more. So it's, we went through a difficult time period, and we can look at data. The data, we're going to have new data coming out. Let's see how everybody's doing. So, we know we have to get better. The teachers are doing an outstanding job of bridging those gaps that we see with COVID. This is not easy, and it is hard when you're tax bill. We get it 100%. I've always said, it's not our fault property taxes pay for education, but they do. And until something changes, we have to rely on the citizens to value the education and understand that. And we have to keep educating, putting out that good news, getting out all the stuff. You're communicating with folks. And you're right, we didn't get a big turnout in Sabatis. Maybe when they say, oh, they are going to reduce that and this and that, maybe we'll have a stronger presence there. Litchfield had a big election that forced votes out as well. So we'll just have to keep communicating, and I think next week we'll bring you forward, and then you might say, you know what, we can't support that, or we can support that. This is not easy. We're going line by line, asking administrators to go back and look. We're looking at every possible way to keep having the quality of education for the students of RSU4. 3 towns, 1 school department.
All right? Everybody all set?
And you have a poster you can put out somewhere for the upcoming meetings. After you put this together, and we're going to get it out and start communicating.
How are we looking in terms of attendance? Because I know people have like vacations planned. Like, if half the board can't be at.
Well, can everybody be next Wednesday?
Yep, I can.
The key one.
I won't be here.
Okay. I know Jill will be back, so we'll have a quorum there. The 12th. Everybody looks good on the 12th. So that's what we're aiming for, the 12th, for having a decision. Then we'll see how we do.
Can these be Zoom or do we?
You can only be Zoom if it's an you're something you can't be here. Do your best, and remember, you can send Sam and I ideas without, and then if something you wanted to question, just call it. Okay?
All right.
I mean, next week, the 28th?
The budget.
The budget hearing?
Yeah. And the 19th.
Actually, I will be here 27th. It's the 28th.
So we're shooting for the 12th, so hopefully we won't need the 19th. Okay, all right. Thank you,
All right.
everyone. Sounds
Thank
like
you.
we'll have forums at the meeting.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Committee report, Finance Facility Committee. We met today at 5:30. I'll go over the finances. On the revenue side, year to date, we've received $18,964,413.65, which is 89.07% of the budget of anticipated revenue. And on the expense side, year to date, we've expended $17,973,631.06, which is 85.3% of the budget. So, at the committee meeting, we discussed old business, the SRRF grant, which you heard about tonight and voted on to accept. And we talked about the possible of solar farm, charging stations, and electric bus updates, and there were no updates. We're still looking for information on that. And we got a workbook for the committee to work on space allocation for all the schools to get back to the timeline about discussing with the board closing a school or going over space in the school. So we'll be getting back to you on that topic. On the new business, we talked about the cost center adjustments, and it looks like right now we won't know until the end of the month. And Sam says she's going to be in touch with me, and it looks like possibly we'll have to move funds into special ed and regular instruction, but we'll know more by the end of the week. And the water and land conservation grant for athletic fields, we discussed that grant, and we'll be coming to you with a proposal for different committees on some topics on that in the future. So we'll be working on that. And then fiscal year 2024 changes to the financial reports to the financial committee. We're going to be incorporating more information on different topics so we can get more in depth month to month on things that aren't in the regular budget, like adult ed and food service. And that was it. Any questions? None? All right, thank you. No personnel and policy committee, and CIA technology committee.
We didn't meet.
We did not meet. All right. So, moving on. Number 9, board member comments. Any comments? Laura?
Just to congratulate everyone again, the class of 2023, but all of the hard work from everyone in the district that goes into having our students be successful. Have a great summer.
I'd like to say thank you to all the teachers who are here tonight and who are wanting to be here, but they couldn't because they had other commitments. But great job for this year. I continue to support you and support the kids in this district. And welcome to the new teachers this year and our new principal. Exciting.
Anybody else? Well, I'd like to say again, I'd like to thank Vicki for her time on the board, and I hope she enjoys the summer. I saw her post today that she's out of school, and I would also like to thank the staff for their hard work. And I think it's nice that we had a pretty normal, somewhat normal year this year after the last 2.5 years of complete disruption. So I think, like Katie said, I think once we get back into the norm and we start looking at being in classrooms and kids get used to being in classrooms, I think it'll help quite a lot. And the other thing I'd like to say is about the budget, I'd just like to remind people that you can never do more with less. So by not supporting the budget, I get it. Everybody does not want to pay taxes. And I understand the fact that a lot of people are having a hard time. But I think the understanding of the piece is that we're trying to do the best we can for our students. And I think every board member, I can speak for myself anyway, realizes that the taxpayers in these communities are doing all they can to support education. I really do. Because we've had budgets that in years past I thought would have a hard time, and they passed. And we've had budgets that, I thought could have used work, and they failed, and we did work to them, and we got more input the farther in we got. So I just hope it's not the first time we've been through it, but I think in the end, will come out all right. I really do. Anybody else? Saying nothing? I guess we got future meeting dates we already went over, so I guess at 8:50